William Trevor is usually one of those names who's mostly associated with really, really great short story writing. But on a whim, I guess it was the summer or so of 2011 when uh, Borders was doing its final have to get rid of everything sale, and everything was 70, 80, 90% off. I think that's when I bought this. Just on a whim, not really knowing too much of what it would be about or how good it would be. I bought William Trevor's The Story of Lucy Galt. And soon thereafter, I bought this one, which I'll be reviewing directly after this. It's called Love in Summer. But this one's about the story of Lucy Gault. I was really, really surprised at how wonderful this book was. It's probably one of the best books that I read in 2011. It's really wonderful. It's really evocative, and it traces the life of the Gault family beginning during the Troubles in the 20s in Ireland. The family fears reprisals from Irish nationalists, and a previous attempt to burn down their family estate, which is called Lahardane. The father of the family, Captain Everard Gault, and his wife, Helene, consider fleeing for the continent. Lucy, their daughter, overhears them talking about moving, but wants to stay and not move away. She loves the Irish seaside, which is where their family home is, and it's the only place she ever has known. So, in an act of sort of Lapsarian rebellion, she runs off into the woods, which abut the home, just as the Gaults are getting ready to leave, and they end up having to leave without her. Later, the servants, a husband and wife named Henry and Bridget, that are left behind to tend the house, stumble on Lucy in the woods and decide to stay behind and raise her there. She leads a really reclusive life, socialized by only an old local canon, a solicitor charged with looking after the house. She's kind of a displaced child in a world full of adults, and the library of books her parents left behind. She meets and is dutifully courted by a young, earnest boy named Ralph, who's been invited to be the tutor of a couple of local boys. And while she very much returns his affection, her sense of abandonment sort of lingers over the novel. And whenever Ralph shows his romantic interest in her, she coolly sort of brushes him off. He leaves at the end of the summer, and much later Lucy sees in the newspaper that he's married another woman. Very occasionally, we get flits of the life that Everard and Helene are leading in Europe. Her heart is understandably broken at having to have leave Lucy behind, but she can't stand the thought of returning to the house, even though Lucy is still there. She's horrified of, like I said, the nationalist reprisals that they might get. She dies of influenza before she can ever see her daughter again, though. However, as an old man, Captain Gault eventually makes his way back to the house to see Henry, Bridget, and Lucy. While the servants understandably expect Lucy to be thrilled with his return, her relationship with him seems just as inadequate as her relationship with Ralph. Long silences and short, terse replies from Lucy dominate their conversations, even as her father tries to engage her meaningfully, and we immediately know that this is not the silence of rejection, but rather one of a young girl who was forced into an exile all of her own, though not a physical one. While he's at Lahardane, one of the boys, named Horahan, who tried to burn down the estate decades earlier, shows up and tells of his part in the attempted arson, and his really sincerely expressed deep, heartfelt anguish and regret at what he's done. one night during his visit, Captain Gault passes away during his sleep. And then we fast forward in Lucy's life. In her later years, she visits Horahan in an asylum where he has been driven to the verge of madness from his guilt. And she comforts him and she talks to him. And it's Philean Horahan who's riven the Gault family to pieces, who through him that Lucy finds her redemption. The end of the novel sees Lucy passing her days away as an elderly woman. On the radio, she hears things like, if you're not on the internet, you're not at the races. So it's sort of, it's this breathless way of reminding you how she grew up, 80 or 90 years ago, and now she's in the age of the internet, the very end of the novel. And it's just kind of it just makes your head spin. The sudden mention of the internet in a story that started some 70 or 80 years ago is kind of a jarring reminder of the impersonality of history and the relentlessness of its march. Some reviews have found this book to be depressing or sad or pessimistic, and all is not sweetness and light in the lives of the Gaults, but Trevor injects the comforts of consolation and possible salvation through meaningful human relationships. Compared with the work of John McGahern, who's downright bleak, I think, Trevor doesn't see the vagaries of time as wholly malevolent. As Lucy later realized, what happens simply did. This novel is superior in both the expansiveness of its themes, which are love, regret, sin, meditation on history, and the possibilities of reconciliation with it, and the tight, sharp elegance of Trevor's prose. Above all, as a first-time reader of his work, I was struck by the poignancy that never devolved into that sort of mawkish sentimentality, which I think all readers kind of want to avoid, and honesty that never lowered itself to bare, raw confession. By the time I was halfway done with it, I was already enjoying it so much that I ordered this, which, as I said earlier, I'll be talking about directly in the next video. Trevor's also published many volumes of short stories and novels, which may very well tempt me into sort of engaging that form that's always left me kind of disinterested, which is the short story. If they're anywhere nearly as beautifully done as the story of Lucy Gault, I'm sure I'll enjoy them. But so far, all I've read by him are these two novels. The Story of Lucy Gault by William Trevor.